Hi guys, my name is Shatia Chesson and I am the founder of The Menu Prep, a plant-based meal prep service here in Los Angeles, California. Today I am here with our own and we're going to be making a black eyed peas collard greens chili. So to start the chili, you're going to need a cup of water, and we're also going to be using a creamy corn and roasted red pepper broth, as well as some garlic, a white onion or sweet onion will work as well. Along with that, of course, we're gonna throw in our black-eyed peas. We're gonna throw in some black beans, some sweet corn, and some kidney beans. And lastly, we're gonna be putting in some fresh Roma tomatoes. Now, Roma tomatoes are super, super cheap. They're 29 cents, and they hold a lot of flavor. These tomatoes are amazing for things like marinara sauce, spaghetti sauce is great because it just holds in that flavor. So when you slow cook them, you don't need to add anything else but that natural flavor that they already create. And lastly, we're gonna be putting in our collard greens. So we're gonna get started with our white onion. Now, the best way to cut a white onion, I'm no professional, but I go right down the middle, and you'll have your two halves. I kind of do like a little bit of a dent in there. So from there, we're just gonna pull up that first layer of onion and just toss that to the side. And from there, you're gonna place your knuckles down. This is how you're not gonna cut off your fingers. So keep those knuckles down. I'm gonna slowly do a first chop in the front. And then what I like to do is I like to add slits going straight back towards my knuckles in the safest, slowest way as possible. That way, when I start cutting straight down, every piece is identical in terms of sizing. So once you have 1/3 of the onion cut, we're gonna go ahead and just put that aside, and we're gonna go and start with the garlic. So we're gonna break this nice garlic apart. All we need is about 1 clove. I love garlic, so if you wanna put 2 or 3, by all means. The best way to cut garlic for me is I like to place it down. Garlic is usually gonna be curved in the clove, so I put the curved side facing down, place the knife on top, and just smush it in there. And that just makes it easier to peel. So we're gonna peel this. And once it's peeled, all you'll need to do is just cut off a little bit of the tip from the root. Now, out of all the things to cut, garlic is my least favorite. So we are going to, again, use our knuckles and place them down to kind of grab some sturdiness of the garlic. And we're gonna start just slowly slicing it back. Slowly start slicing it back. Then from there, once I'm at the point where I can't go back anymore, I'm gonna just switch the position. And just like I did with the white onion, I'm going to just start chopping it. Again, it's gonna be messy, it's gonna move around. Use your knife, have full control of it, and just get these pieces nice and small so that it's easier to break down and really saute into the pan so we can build the flavor for our chili. We're gonna cut our beautiful Roma tomatoes. I am going to be using 5 Roma tomatoes today. And for this, once they're washed, of course, we are going to just do a nice slice in the middle and then cut it into 4 even pieces. So we'll do that for all of our Roma tomatoes. Doesn't need to be perfect. We just want to make it easier for them to break down into our chili. And this is gonna add to the flavor, it's gonna add to the consistency, and it's just gonna really bring the meal all together. So we have our pan warming up with some olive oil in it. I have my pan on low with about a teaspoon to 2 of olive oil. Now we are going to grab our white onion and our garlic and just bring that over. Toss that right in there. And we're gonna let that heat up first and get the garlic and the onions nice and golden before we add in our tomatoes. So I'm just gonna grab the leftovers. Put that in. Move it around, get the olive oil coating on the pan. Followed by that, we're gonna go ahead and add in our tomatoes because we want these to start to slowly kind of melt into the base of our chili. And they're just gonna cook slow the entire time. And your last tomato. And I always like to just scrape the cutting board and get every last bit. Always practice no waste. So our olive oil, our onion, our garlic, and our Roma tomatoes are now cooking, and we're gonna let that just soften for about 2 minutes before we go ahead and move on to adding in the rest of our ingredients. So we have our base basically sauteing itself with the sweet onion, the garlic, and the tomatoes. I'm now gonna go ahead and add in our kidney beans, our black eye peas, and we're gonna put in another can of the kidney beans. You're more than welcome to use a full can for the beans or a half can. It depends on the amount of people you're serving. For 2 to 4 people, I like to use the entire can, and that's usually about 16 ounces. So we're gonna also add in our corn. And last but not least, we're gonna add in our black beans. And then once all the beans are added in, we're gonna go right into seasoning and start mixing it all around so all the flavors can start to marinate together. We are going to go ahead with the seasoning, of course. We're gonna add about a teaspoon of black pepper. And then we're gonna add a teaspoon of sea salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt. Any sea salt will do. And last, we're gonna be using our Sazon. This is a multi-purpose blend of seasonings that just adds that final oomph to any recipe. I use this in about all my recipes, especially soups and sauces. So we're gonna be adding a full pack of this in there, and this is just gonna really bind all of the flavors in our chili so that when we squeeze on that lime, it's gonna be great. So we're gonna add in a full pack of the Sazon. So our Sazon is in, our salt and our pepper. Now let's go ahead and add in our liquids. We have our water. And we're gonna be adding in our creamy corn roasted red pepper broth. Now you can make this chili as thick or as loose as you'd like. I use a cup of water and a cup of the creamy corn and roasted red pepper broth. If you'd like to use 2 cups, you're more than welcome to. It's not gonna change anything with the flavor profile. It's just gonna make your chili thicker as opposed to more looser like a liquid soup would be. Now we have everything in our pot. We are going to give it a nice big stir to make sure everything is evenly distributed and that all the flavors bind and blend together. Now you're basically just gonna let this cook and thicken for about 20 to 30 minutes. I love my chili the day after, but 20 to 30 minutes is all you need to make sure that everything is cooked in. We're gonna let this cook on low. And right before it's finished and we plate it is when we're gonna add in our collard greens. Again, same as our spinach, we do not need to add extra heat to that. We're gonna let it cook from the remaining heat from whatever the dish is. So with it being the chili, we're gonna chop it up, we'll throw it in there, and it will naturally wilt right before we plate it. So our chili has been cooking for about 25 to 30 minutes now, and it's boiling. All of the flavors are intertwining and working together. And we're gonna go ahead and add in our final ingredient, which is gonna be our collard greens. So our collard greens are already rinsed, of course. Always wash your vegetables. Always wash your vegetables. And with collard greens, it's basically a preference. Some people don't mind the thick stem that comes, in the middle. Some people do. So there's an option to actually remove this stem. What I like to do is lay this baby flat. We're gonna go right for the big chop at the end. And then slowly, you're gonna slice this stem up. And usually it just glides depending on, obviously the pick you have. There we go. And you'll just have the remainder of the stem that looks like this. And then once that's done, it will just be a little bit easier to bite into. So we're gonna do the same exact step for the next two pieces. I purchased a bunch of cauliflower, and I'll usually use about 2 to 3 of the leaves for my chili, depending on how much you want in there. These smaller ones don't have as thick of a stem as the other one does, so it's gonna be a much easier process. Again, you start from the big root, and then you slowly slice up along the leaf, and you wanna take out that center root. And again, this is totally up for you if you want to avoid that crunch or if you wanna leave it in there. I also will save my stems for any vegetable I use, whether it be collard greens or broccoli, and I will dice these up with my onions and my garlic, and I will put these in the pan first to saute. That is another no waste method that you can use. You could even take them and just throw them into your chili if you wanted to still have that crunch but not have it a part of the collard green. So we have all of our stems removed. I like to lay all my cauliflower stacked on top of each other. I'm then gonna roll it almost like a sushi roll, minus the sushi. And we're just gonna go ahead and slice our collard greens. Don't worry about making them perfect. They're gonna be cooked, they're gonna be wilted. And you just wanna make sure that they're cut just like this, basically. You can even go ahead and cut them again in half so you don't have this super long piece, but it's up to you. Just do one more cut. Now that these are cut, let's go ahead and put them in the chili. So we have our chili over here boiling. We're gonna give that a nice stir and move everything around. Our stew is a little liquidy at this point, but like I said, you can cook this until the next day and it will just continue to thicken. The flavors will continue to marinate. So once that's stirred, we're gonna go ahead and grab our collard greens. Grab a nice big handful, and we're just gonna go ahead and plop those right in. Again, let's not leave anything on the cutting board. And then let's work that into the soup. Just gonna slowly press that down. Try not to make a huge mess and splatter everything everywhere. And I like to give the soup about another 10 to 15 minutes once the collard greens are in, and that's just gonna really bring everything together right before we plate it and serve. So we're just gonna leave this on low and let it continue to thicken. So our chili is now complete, and we're gonna go ahead and turn off the heat, and we are gonna prepare to plate. I have a beautiful bowl here that we're gonna use to plate our chili. Our chili is very, very hot. It's been cooking for over 25 minutes now. So let's make sure that we are being precautious of the heat, and when we're transporting it from the stove over, I like to use one hand and then have a hand for the ladle. And I'm gonna go ahead and just scoop in all that goodness. So our chili is now in our bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and I've already pre-cut some limes up. Squeeze a sliced lime just on top. Lime is really good. It's gonna make all these flavors explode, and it's gonna make that bite an experience, and that's what we want. And to finish it off, I'm also gonna top with some avocado. This is an optional step if you'd like. No, just go around till you connect. We're gonna pop. Just did that little switcheroo. And I like to just add some slices into my avocado. And then from the last slice, I can use it to cut a perfect piece to put on top. So we have our avocado. I'm gonna get in with my hands and just place this baby on top. I'm also gonna top it off with some fresh black pepper, some sea salt, and of course, some nice garnish of fresh cilantro, which will just add a final touch to the dish. And here is our black eyed peas, collard green, plant-based chili. Now let's try the chili. As usual, I'm gonna get a nice big spoonful of every ingredient in here. Our collard greens, our black eyed peas, our kidney beans, our black beans, our corn, some avocado. Okay, very good. Seasoning's perfect. The avocado adds a nice creamy texture to it. The lime, like I said, makes all these flavors explode. It's really good. Amazing. I can't wait for you guys to try this one.